And we are now live on YouTube. If everyone can put in the chat where they're from and let everybody who's here know what's going on. So it looks like we have, there is Mabel is on, and we have Stephanie, EJ, and Aaron currently. So we'll get started in just a second. We did open up the webinar just a smidge early to let people in and chat and whatnot. Good evening, everyone. All right. Good evening, Aaron, or I guess technically where you're at, it's morning.
I guess you could say that.
It is.
Good morning.
Wonderful. Well, it is 11. Oh, it's time to start. It's 11 o'clock where I'm at. April, my name is Retta. I'm the VP of Professional Development for the Bluegrass chapter of the IIBA, and it is with my privilege to introduce to you April. April has recently gone through our classes and gotten her Agile certification. So we thought it'd be nice for her to talk about her journey to getting her certification. And April, you're originally from the Philippines, correct?
Yes.
And where are you from in the Philippines?
I am living in Manila.
Wonderful. And currently you are in France working on your master's.
Yes.
You just moved to France to get your master's.
Yes.
So that's an exciting journey. Well, people are hopping on here quick, but April will be talking today about why she chose to get her Agile certification and what her journey to get that degree or that certification looks like, why she chose that, and where she's currently at. So April, would you like to get started?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Retta. So hello, everyone. I'm April, and I'm from the Philippines originally. And I was a business analyst for for more than 5 years now in Baker McKenzie. I used to work in Baker McKenzie before I recently resigned since I'm moving to France for master's degree. In our company in Baker McKenzie, we used to do a Scrum methodology for all of our projects. So when I was thinking of signing up for a certification exam, I thought the Agile analysis would be a great start for me to take it. Since the Agile certification also focuses on the Agile perspective, so at first I really thought that the exam was easy, but it was totally not at all. So at first, I thought that my experiences as a business analyst working in an Agile environment would help me at least ace the exam, but I figured it wouldn't be enough since I really have to study for the exam itself. And so it was during the pandemic in 2020 when the IIBA had a sale, a 30% sale on their certification exam. And so I got it, but it took me almost a year before I scheduled my exam and really studied for it. So I took the IIBA Agile Certificate Analysis because um, from my perspective, education is an investment, and so I paid it from my own expense. But I know that you could also ask for your company to sponsor you or to at least reimburse the certification exam if it will be really helpful for your team and for your company. And so I guess that's just really one of the um, main advantages of having a certification exam is that you can level up on your career as a business analyst. And of course, there would be more knowledge and credibility on your part, being able to share your knowledge about the agile perspective. And so I took the exam in May, but I already started studying for the exam since March. So I gave myself at least 3 months to review because the book is quite long to read, in my opinion. And it's really with the help of Aaron and the Bluegrass chapter that I was able to get to know more about the modules that I need to study. Like, for example, Aaron reached out to me to give me tips and give me study sheets and even the mock exams that I could use while I'm studying. So it really helped a lot because, for example, in the mock exam, I was able to review it over and over again because the mock exam that they provided was almost similar to what you will get in the actual exam. So it was really nice to sign up for a mock exam or to get at least a study sheet when you're going to review for it. Also, would be my second tip would be to create or schedule time for your study, for your reviews, because it would be hard to, for example, study on the weekends and then weekdays working, just working. So you will forget all the terms. So mine, I study about 2 hours a day, at least for the weekdays before I start working. And then on the weekends, I review it again and again. So if you guys already have a background on the Agile Scrum methodology, I would still recommend that you would read everything because the questions in the book or the questions in the exam are based on the typical scenarios and how you would apply it. So, for example, in the different horizons and the different techniques, how would you be able to use them in this specific scenario? So you should be able to really understand all those written in the book. So what else? During the exam, I actually rented out a co-working space. I rented out a meeting room just so I could be alone because during the exam you have to be alone in the room and there should be no gadgets or anything placed on your table or on your surroundings. So they will really check it through your webcam.
So you took a
And
virtual test,
yes, I took a virtual test.
and that was during the pandemic, so there wasn't a lot of
Yes,
opportunities for in
yes,
person. So
yes,
when you were taking it, it sounds like they made sure through your webcam that everything was turned
yes,
off and it was like a traditional working space,
yes.
like you would if you were taking at a center.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
So you also have a proctor monitoring you while you are taking an exam, and even your eye movement, you can't really um, look up or look down somewhere else. So you really have to stay on your computer, and they do allow a pencil and a sheet of paper you can work on. For example, if you need to write something, that's okay. But everything else like gadgets or any books or any paper around you, that should be all hidden. Um, so what else?
We have a question. What
Oh,
were there surprises on the exam? And did your studying prepare you well for the actual exam?
well,
Or did
actually, the mock exams and the study sheets were really helpful. So I wasn't surprised with the actual exam. So it was almost similar.
so the exams that Aaron and team put together for your
Yes,
were really matched what you saw when you
yes,
went to take the test. So that
yes.
must have been helpful, at least a little bit
Mhm.
comforting, especially knowing how nerve-wracking some tests can
Yes.
be.
It was I became more confident before the exam when I was um, getting more points when I did the mock exam. So I would tell you guys that you can take the mock exam as many times as possible until you get a high score, so that you would be more confident. Because if you just take it once or twice and then your score is low, you would think that, oh, my score is so low, how can I do better? So maybe one other tip would be, after you answer the mock exam, you start reviewing again, and then after you review, you start with the exam again. So that's a second mock exam. And then if you still have any errors or mistakes during the mock exam, that's when you can go back to your reviewer and um, study more on those areas that you need to improve on.
So when you passed the test, how
Mhm.
quickly did you know that you passed it?
Oh, it was actually when I submitted it. So when I submitted it, you would um, already see if you passed or not, and then they wouldn't say what score you got. They would just say if you're passed or not.
And so how did you feel when you saw the past?
I was exhilarated because I think for my part, I did the 3 month review, so I was very happy for myself because the effort paid off.
So you made a comment early on that
Mhm.
you practicing Agile, but
Mhm.
what was on the test was not necessarily what you were practicing.
Yeah,
Tell me a little bit about how that was different for you.
yeah. So with how the Agile analysis certificate examination works is that they have different horizons in the book, and it's not usually considered, or it's not usually being practiced in the Scrum methodology setup.
The
So, for
real world
example,
Agile.
yeah, the real world Agile. So, for example, in the real world Agile, they wouldn't have a um, specific areas for a business analyst. So it's just more of a general perspective on how a BA should work on the Agile. But with this certification, you would be able to know what really are the detailed work that a business analyst would do in a typical Agile perspective.
Wonderful. I've worked in a couple different places where they
Uh-huh.
all seem to implement Agile slightly differently as well, right? So
Yeah.
depending on where you work, which is why the certification is really awesome, because it makes sure you align with the international organization,
Mm-hmm.
right? No matter how
Yes.
close to the Agile methodologies your organization chooses to apply it.
Yes. Agree.
So has the certification helped you? You said your goal was to have it help you with your career, right? And it will. Have you
Yeah.
noticed that? Because it's been a couple months now since you get past it.
Yes. Well, actually, my boss was very thrilled for me for passing the exam. And I think I also inspired some of my teammates back in the Philippines to take up the IIBA Agile certification exam as well. And well, I also noticed that there were several companies in the Philippines who were messaging me through LinkedIn, um, looking for a business analyst position.
So that helped people actually reach out to
Yeah,
you for job opportunities. That's
I think so. Yeah.
wonderful. So it sounds like you took about 3 solid months for testing. Where was
Yeah.
that compared to did you take a class with the Bluegrass chapter, or did you just do it
No.
independent? You did it independent with guidance from
Yes,
Aaron.
independent study. Yeah. Because I think I was already late or I was too early for the study group that was scheduled for the chapter.
So our class did not align with what your
Yeah.
objectives were, but we were
Yeah.
still able to help you, which was wonderful.
Yes. Yes.
So the proctoring of the exam obviously is very interesting. What was there any tip that you received, or is there any other major tips that you'd like to share with the group about getting certified, or how to prepare to be certified that you'd like to share? Or is there one thing you'd wished you'd have known before you started the journey?
I guess tip, a great tip would be is if you are going to take the exam, I guess you really have to be committed. Like you have to put it in your mind that okay, I'm going to take exam, I'm going to pass it, and you have to give in your effort, all of your effort, in studying, so that um, the hard work pays off after. So I think the reward really is more important than the effort that you give in when you were studying. So I guess you just really have to focus, and you have to get your mind into it when you want to do something.
And it sounds like from your perspective, you studied every day versus, once a week or something along those lines,
Yeah.
because there was so much to learn and
Mhm.
to be able to know how to apply.
Yes, I think I had to be strict with my study habits as well, because sometimes when you slack off, for example, oh, I can just read just for this weekend, and then when you get back to the next reading, for example, when you go next weekend, you'll forget everything. So it's really nice that you will at least have some time every day to read, so that you can still remember everything.
To keep it all in there so it doesn't leave.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's a question out there, is like, are there real world advantages of having this certificate? And it sounds like once you had it, companies were reaching out to you for possibility of being a BA for them. Would would you agree that there's an advantage of having the certification? Because some companies care about it and some companies don't, depending on the company.
Yes. Well, from my experience, studying for the Agile certification really helped me more understanding my role as a business analyst, because I didn't really have when I started as a business analyst, I just started doing it. I mean, I had no real background about being a business analyst. So when I had the certification, I learned more about what it is to be a business analyst, especially in the Agile perspective. And so I think it would really be helpful, not just theoretically, because you would also be able to share that information to the rest of your teammates who probably won't have that theoretical knowledge. And so with that theoretical knowledge, you can also apply it in your everyday work. So I think it's going to be helpful as well.
So what I hear you saying is the the certificate is beneficial, but it was really more about getting you the knowledge that you wanted so that you could do your job better, and less
Yes.
about the certificate that some businesses may or may not know. So it
Mm-hmm.
sounds to me like you learned a lot about how to, not necessarily how to become a business analyst, but understanding what your true role is and how the team can work better together through the class and the process of getting certified, which you
Yes.
can then apply to your job, whether,
Yes.
in so many different ways. Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Um, so I'm hoping that that answers your question. Let's see here. So it sounds like we just helped along the journey. I think the experience and certification go hand in hand. Attending training and obtaining certification helps. Um, in terms of impact, can you share a data as to how it affected your team? Did your operations become more efficient? Was data gathered more effectively? Does the understanding of the business requirements become better? So how did you apply your certification to the team that you were on? What difference did it make on the team? Not necessarily the certification, but the knowledge you gained through the certification.
Yeah. So actually, I just finished my exam last May, but I resigned last July. So I only had only 2 months
With the
to,
certification, but you were
yeah,
studying with it for several months before that.
yeah,
And I'm assuming you
yeah,
started applying that knowledge you
yes,
were gaining along the way.
yeah.
So how did it help your team?
Uh,
The knowledge you were gaining, how were you able to apply it right away to your job?
Actually, our team is actually composed of several new members. So for me, it was more of being able to share my knowledge to our new members, so that I could also guide them when we start going on to our several projects. So because in our team, we per person we have separate projects. So have we don't usually have two BAs in one project. So we all have our own projects, and so I just guide them. I just guided them in in their requirements gathering. But in terms of the specific question about the data, how it affected my team, or did the operations become more efficient, I think it isn't seen yet, but I have already provided a knowledge sharing for the team so that they could apply it on their own.
So it sounds like you helped guide your team. You weren't there long enough after
Yeah.
that to see the long-term impact.
Yeah.
But even with that, I'm assuming, when you're working with, you said you're the only BA on the group, which is very common because scrums and teams are usually fairly small with one, maybe two business analysts on it. But it sounds like you were able to guide them into a more efficient way of gathering the data or working through whatever the project was that you were on.
Yes. I think even more for myself, like I have become more aware of being a business analyst after taking the exam, or even while reviewing for the exam, because I suddenly um, got aware of what mistakes I usually make, or I had to make adjustments for myself as well.
So you were able to apply how you did your job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one of the things that Aaron pointed out is that according to a survey, people who have the Agile certification generally earn about 13% more than those who don't have it. So that is definitely, I've seen that in the statistics in a lot of the surveys that have come out, that in not just necessarily Agile, but any of the other type of certifications will have a boost in your income and potential for income depending on your area. So that's wonderful. And it sounds, Aaron commented that it sounds like you have a much higher confidence on your job, which makes sense,
I
especially when you're
agree.
able to apply what you're learning and correct. I have a degree in business analysis, so mine is a little bit, my degree is different. It's not necessarily agile, but if you were new to the business analyst world, like you said, you've only been doing it for about 5 years, depending on how you were trained, some of this kind of stuff will get you almost a standardized processing to make it more universal, which is good. So now you've finished your certification. You're now in France starting your MBA process. Both were an opportunity for you to advance your career. It sounds like though the certification has already been beneficial based on people reaching out to you for job opportunities or who might be interested in you. If you had to go through this journey again, would you get your certification in Agile? Would you choose a different certification or would you forego it altogether?
I think I would really like to take the Agile analysis certificate first because I think it's a stepping stone for the IIBA certification. Well, even before when our company, or at least when our team joined the IIBA organization, um, really one of our goals was to take up the business analysis certification, the CBAP. But for me, at least taking one step at a time. So taking the AAC was kind of reaching or going towards my goal of taking the CBAP in the future.
So you chose to go with the Agile, not, so there are 3 standard
Mhm.
business analyst certifications, and then there's 3, maybe I think now 4, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, add-on ones. So the 3 main ones we have a study group starting next week with, but there is, thank you, Aaron. There is the ECBA, which is for entry level ones. There's the CCBA, which had about 5 years experience, which is what you were talking about. And then the CBAP, which is, I believe, 7 or more years of experience in the business analyst world. Depending on the certification, determines what kind of experience you have to have in the knowledge areas. Is there a reason why you went with Agile versus the ECBA?
Yeah, because the AAC was a bit, I think I was more familiar with AAC because I was already working in the Agile Scrum methodology. So I thought I could do it one step first. So take the AAC and then probably the next would be the any of the main
Certifications.
certifications. Yes.
So it was your comfort zone, and to take a big step like that, you felt you'd be more successful that way, is what I'm
Yes.
hearing, right? Which is
Yes.
totally understandable. We have about 4 minutes left on your presentation. Is there, if you guys have any more questions, please feel free to add it to the chat. But is there any last words you'd like to share with the group?
I think it would really be beneficial to take a certification exam. I guess some people would really think about, is this really going to help my career? Or I guess experience is more okay than the theoretical knowledge. I was also thinking that way before, but when I tried this, when I just jumped in and did it for my credibility and for my career advancement, it also felt so good after. Like, you will be really more confident with yourself and with your knowledge as a BA. So I think it really just adds up to your confidence as a business analyst because combining your experience and with the theoretical knowledge, especially with the certifications that you have passed, then you would really just be proving others that you are capable of doing your job well.
Wonderful. That's a really, I know at times, especially as I expand into different areas of the business analyst world that I'm in, having that knowledge definitely helps with my confidence because there are that I like the way you worded that because that's an area sometimes I don't always have confidence as I'm, when you're exploring something new or adjacent to what you know. So that is wonderful to hear. That's a really good tip. So thank you very much for your time. I don't see too many more questions out there for you, but Erin and Stephanie were pointing out that if you guys have questions, feel free to contact us at the Bluegrass chapter. We're more than happy to answer anything we can. We will continue to have different certification programs available and classes. So thank you all for participating. And April, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know with your move and stuff, this was a big opportunity for us, but I really appreciated your perspective on your certification. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much, Retta.
Thank you guys. Have a good day.